What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical one-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Sisters. Happy Memorial Day 2019. You are here with Mandee and Jennie. Hey Jennie, how are you tonight?
Doing pretty good, Mandee. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a nice day and spent a lot of time outside and actually did a little painting project in my house, so that was exciting, and grateful for the holiday because I got to spend some time with my boyfriend, and I'm always like to honor those who have served our country.
It's a beautiful day here in Northern California. I've been enjoying some of the hot springs action and some barbecue, so it's good.
Beautiful. Well, tonight we have kind of a special show going on. We have two guests tonight, Crystal Jordan, the Mid Mitten Medium. She's been here before, and we're excited to have her back, as well as Lila Simmons. She's going to be amazing and having her own show here on Heart Over Ego Radio. So welcome, ladies. Crystal, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are all of you?
Very good. Very good. Very happy to be here. Did you enjoy your day today?
I did. I went on a nice 8-mile walk with my dog who's rambunctious and doesn't ever calm down. So that's what I've done so far.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And Lila, how are you doing tonight?
I'm super excited to be chatting with you guys.
Oh, we're so honored to have you here. Did you enjoy your day today?
I did. Yeah, there was bike riding and popsicle eating. It's been amazing.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Lila, can you do us a favor and tell our guests a little bit about what you do and how they can get a hold of you?
So I'm Lila, and my fun tagline is, I am wisdom and giggles on a mission to bring light to the dark places in the world. Basically, what that means is if life isn't feeling yummy and delicious, then we should probably have a chat. And the best place to find me right now is Facebook.com/Life with Lila, and Lila spelled Lila. I'm sorry, Americans. It's not an American name. I know it's weird, but think Lisa and then throw an L in there where that S belongs, and you got me.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm excited to collaborate with you tonight and talk about, getting life. What did you say? A little juicier? I like
Juicy
that.
Conversations that lead to powerful transformation.
I like that a lot. Awesome. And Crystal, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how they can find you?
I am Crystal Jordan, and I'm actually just changed my name. I was Crystal Kirchen. I think there's still some stuff out there that's Crystal Kirchen, but I go by the Mid Mitten Medium now today, and I'm actually a medium. That's pretty much all I do. I like to spend my time talking to dead people because they're fun to talk to, and I feel like they give us the most knowledge for how we can, I feel like we're all on the same page here, transform ourselves, heal, move forward, give closure, validation, and love for all of the things that might be holding us back in life. And anything. I guess I'm going to say anything. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram, and it's all the Mid Mitten Medium.
The Mid Mitten Medium. I love it. Actually, that leads us right into my first question I want to ask you, Crystal. Can you tell us and our listeners, give us a little introduction into signs and symbols that the other side uses to kind of communicate with us?
So it's really funny. I love talking about this, mostly because this week all of the clients that I've have had problems connecting with signs and symbols. I feel like humans try to human things up too much. They don't realize that spirit just works like they say what they mean and they mean what they say. So when they present us with something, it doesn't really mean anything. And so I guess it depends on what it is that you're receiving. I like the move one. Moving comes up a lot in readings, and people try to take that too literal, like I don't want to move to California or I don't want to move to Ohio. but at the same time, spirit doesn't necessarily mean move. It means move in your life. And so there's a lot of things that can come forward where I can't necessarily validate because it's not really my job to validate your life. And so spirit will bring up, make the move, and people kind of take it too literal. So there's a lot of different things. And if any of the listeners out there have different signs and symbols that are happening in their life and they want to talk about them today to gain clarity, it would be a fun time to talk to you. I love those things.
That is so awesome. What are some common ones that you see or that you encourage people to first start working with?
Numbers. People do not understand the power of numbers. And so everybody's like, okay, so I see 1111. Everybody sees 1111 because that's spirit trying to guide us to manifest our own lives, especially when things are, you know, a tad bit more on the darker side or the negative side, and that's all we try to see. And it's the power of thought. And so the more we see, the more we understand, the more we'll actually get back. And so if you're seeing 555 all the time or you find nickels all the time, that's a 5. Look that up. There are ways to look up your angel sequence numbers and see what message it actually means for you in your life and what people are saying to you. So numbers are actually the first thing that I try to guide people to understanding.
Very cool. I love it. And I do. I hear clients bring that up all the time. And when they're feeling more in alignment, I hear them saying things like, oh my gosh, I saw 1111 like 8 times today, and I saw 333 and this and that. And people get excited because it really makes you feel held and connected as far as I've experienced. Lila, do you have any experience with signs and symbols around communication or manifestation?
I do, and it's really been interesting. My first experience was probably when I was driving my ex-husband to prison.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Wow.
So it's a 4-hour drive. I'd lived in that state for several years, and I'd never seen so many hawks. So every mile or 3, I would see a couple of hawks, or I would see 3 hawks. And I'm like, they don't hang out in multiples, so this must be a message. And over the course of the trip, it was 56 hawks. I didn't see any on my drive back, just on the way down there.
So did you figure out what it meant?
It ultimately that things were about to get difficult, but I would be provided for and taken care of. And I absolutely was. It was a miracle of the next 4 months.
Wow. I love you. I don't know you in real life, but I love you.
Thanks. Ditto. That was the first thing that popped into my head. I know that I have more, but that was the first time that I know that I paid attention and I knew it was a message.
Wow.
Very cool. Very powerful and potent, and it's kind of cool because I think our listeners, it encourages them to really say, okay, you know what, maybe I can start paying attention to some of these things. Because a lot of times, Crystal, you'll probably agree or notice, often it's there and people don't notice it, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Like, people don't notice hardly anything because it happens. It's daily life, And so when you're walking and you see a cardinal, how many people pay attention to a cardinal? So, I mean, it's very funny. It depends on the person, how the symbols and signs are. Like for me, animals mean nothing for me. So I have to pay attention a little bit more because that's who I am as a human being. But at the same time, if you have people who are very earth connected, they tend to have more animals than angelic symbols that come through for them. And I deal more in the realm of angelic stuff because I'm not so grounded all the time. My head is my vibrations are always up with spirit, so it's harder for them to give me earthborn symbols because I don't tend to connect what that means. So.
I get that. And that's the thing, and it's a little different for everybody. I have a lot of strong animal medicine too. It's funny. I have a lot of angelic and a lot of animal because I've got a lot of kind of angelic and shaman and different things within me. And it's just kind of what comes through for me. So I get animal symbols, but for each person, it's different. Just like everybody's different. Just, it's the same way with spirit and the way they communicate with us. Jennie, are you with us?
I am. You know, I love how when we were messaging back and forth before the show, and Crystal's like, I want to talk about symbols and signs of spirits and how humans overthink it. And I think that that is so poignant, simply because if you'll notice, Lila was like, I saw several hawks. It was symbolic. It was making me feel a certain way, and she kept going forward with her life and moving forward and didn't stop to dissect that completely. She just felt it in her soul and moved forward. Very often people will get some symbols and they'll panic and they'll be like, well, what does it mean? It means you're on the right path and keep moving quite often. And people really like to dissect it too much, and then they stop moving forward because they're too busy in the ins and outs. And I'm like, you'll get more symbols. Keep going. And symbols, I love symbols in the way that they're open-ended. You see a hawk, it could mean 16 different things for 16 different people, and each person is the determiner of what it means to them. So it's very open-ended, and I like that. So when people start to get too detailed about it, I'm like, it's a bigger picture. It can have many meanings. There's no one right answer. Maybe there's a one right answer to you, but it's more open-ended than that. Same with numbers. I saw 1111. Well, yeah, you did. It's catching your eye. You're being guided. Mm-hmm.
It's
yeah, I agree. And people, and this was we have some people calling in, so we're going to be doing some readings here shortly, but, it's kind of along the same lines. A lot of times when people want a reading or want a session, often they kind of sometimes can get addicted to the prediction, and it's like, you can put all your eggs in all of these baskets and see what everybody has to say about it, but ultimately it's up to you, and it's your life, and you get to choose which steps you take forward, which steps you take back, what you decide to recognize or not, and that's it. I often tell my clients, I feel like I'm in alignment if I see a lot of numbers or a lot of signs. It makes me feel like I'm focused, I'm present, I'm around, and most of the time it's all positive for me. There's very few that I'll heed as like a warning or like something, something bad's going to come. And usually if that happens, my intuition's already kicking in naturally around that. So I encourage people to take space around that too.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said because, like, fun fact about me, I don't do readings. Like, you know how you have some people, and I'm not trying to knock anybody here, but some people will allow their clients to, like, come back or tell them to come back. I don't do that. I actually have a 6-month rule for that reason because I want people to take what was given to them and use it in their life and have time to put it into, like, perspective and put it into place and gain the healing to actually, I guess, understand, acknowledge, and really decipher for themselves and suck in, feel the messages that were presented to you. Because in a reading with me, I'm kind of like, I can't remember what my mentor called me, but she's like, you just spit things out. So for an hour, I'm talking to people. And there's a lot of information that comes through. And if you don't take the time to dissect that in your life, spirit cannot, kind of take the math test of life for you. We all have our own tests. We all have our own lessons. And so if you're going to somebody constantly all the time, you're really looking to other people to take your test for you. And you're kind of, not learning the steps that you need to take because you're taking the time to learn from somebody else. And their story isn't your story. So you really have to focus on what your story means to you. And so I have a rule that people can't come back to me. They have to give it time.
I think that's great and wise because what I've noticed over the years of calling myself a psychic is I noticed people got hooked on how they felt when I talked to them as opposed to taking what I said to them and applying it to their life. So they just then needed that hit of energy from me as opposed to doing the work themselves. And I had to use healthy boundaries and move maybe my title of my name around and change that up a little bit. But yes, utilizing it in one's life, that's what we're here for. The healers and the teachers, we're here to help you, of course, feel better and feel grounded or heady, whatever you're looking for, but then to also give you some tools so that you can go out into your life and utilize them to manifest the desired future. Same thing in my massage practice. Very often I have like construction workers are like, well, I get one massage a month. I shouldn't be in so much pain. I'm like, you work 50 hours a week. How can this one little massage from a 150-pound girl hold up to what you're doing all week to yourself and not doing any stretches? So I have to kind of implement, yes, this is a treatment and it feels awesome and it's good for you and you should keep doing it, but take it home and use it because I can't do it for you. Like Crystal said, Spirit's not going to do it for you. Other healers, well, good ones, aren't going to try it. They're not going to try to do it for you because the lesson is yours, and some of which is stretching your back out.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm definitely going to ask Lila about this too, because I'm a coach as well. I do reading and then I do empowerment coaching. And sometimes I'll have clients work with me once a week for a while, sometimes once a month, every other week, every few months, kind of. It depends on the client for me. And it's like if we're working together closely once a week or something, it's because they have a specific action plan that they're working on and they need a little bit of support or a check-in around that for accountability and for ways to incorporate some of the new things that they've learned and to help them do the shadow work a little bit. Lila, how often do you usually see your clients or recommend that people do?
It really depends on what they're working on. So because I work virtually as well as in person, one of the modalities that I use is the access bars, but I always connect with Spirit and find out what Spirit suggests. So I don't have like standard packages. Mm-hmm. It's like, so you're going to need 3 sessions a week for 2 weeks, and then you're going to need 2 sessions a week that next week. And then you're going to need 1 session a week for 2 weeks, which is weird for me. My brain is like, what? But Spirit's like, no, this is what this person needs. Okay.
Exactly.
So that's kind of how I do it.
Beautiful. Exactly. You know, and that's just it. For all the people listening, you know, it's different for every single person. But yep. I know every single woman on this phone call will encourage you to take the things that you hear and to work on them as much as possible and to empower yourself and see how much healing you can do yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important piece is, did you do the work between the sessions? Because yep. There's almost always something to do between the sessions.
Always, yeah. Spirit doesn't leave you without tools, that's for sure.
Right.
It's actually kind of funny because when I have people who are gifted that come before me, I always send paperwork to people afterwards. I'm like, okay, so this you can use. I know whether or not they're going to use it because guides will say they're not going to use it. They're not going to look at it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But they're telling me to send it anyway, so I do. But when they come back like a year, I actually just had a reading this week with somebody who hasn't seen me in like 2 years. I knew because my guides towards the end, they said, now bring up the paperwork. And I said, I gave you paperwork last time, didn't I? And she goes, yes. I said, okay, you didn't look at it at all, did you? And she was like, no. I was like, yeah, because your guides are completely tattling on you. You didn't use it. And so you can't, and it's like a slippery slope also, because there's so many different spiritual people out there. Each one of us have our own gifts. And so if you're coming to somebody because you've seen somebody else and you want it to be a similar style, it's not going to happen because each one of us do our gifts differently. And so it's kind of important to remember that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that didn't work for you because you didn't listen. You know, you have to do things. And I kind of feel like that's how and why they have me do what I do, because I have had to work hard myself. I haven't had help from anybody else to get to where I am and heal. I'm not the person who can go to a counselor or a therapist or do medications. It's like I've had to actually rebuild my life several times by myself. And so I feel like that's why they teach me, because the people they bring to me are people who are a lot like me, and they need to start working on their plan of action for themselves because that's the path they chose to go on. So
I've noticed that over the years. My client list tends to resemble my own personality, and there's good pieces to that and bad pieces to that. No, I tease. But I've noticed that over the years that my clientele will resemble my own personality, as well as the people I hang out with and my friends virtually and in real life. It's like birds of a feather.
Makes sense via law of attraction. And for any of our healers out there listening, and people starting their own healing art type of business, or whatever it is, the more you operate from your most authentic self and the more you put out what it is you want to teach and what you can help people overcome, the more you'll attract heartfelt clients who are very much, meant to work with you at a soul level. And it comes really easy, wouldn't you say, ladies, when you just kind of sit back and receive it, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, here's another one, just what I was teaching yesterday.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, if it's okay with
the manifestation part.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, Mandee. I'm so sorry. I was just continuing there. I was just saying the manifestation part can be easy, but then all the work while all the manifestation is happening is the tricky part. But what were you saying, Mandee?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I was going to switch gears and say let's take a caller, so I'm glad you finished that up. I think there was just a slight delay, so I'm sorry also. Yeah. Ladies, are you ready to take a caller?
Absolutely.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Cool. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm just going to go in order for as long as people have been holding. So the first caller we're going to take is area code 775. Hi, 775. You're with the Alchemy Sisters. Who are we speaking with?
Thank you all very much. My name is Wendy from California.
Hi, Wendy. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm okay. I'm going to be 68 on July the 6th, and I am very intent about continuing to work until I build up my Social Security higher, so I need at least another year. I'm off work right now since the 11th because my hearing aid stopped working, but I'm going to see this Friday at 2, I'm going to see a specialist, and they'll determine whether or not they need to be sent back under warranty to the manufacturer. So I'm going to bring in paperwork on Friday, and I know how to approach them, and I'm going to ask them if they would complete it. It's not going to be complicated, one page. And also, I'm going to ask if they can mention that I've been off work since the 11th through the 31st, if they can make note of that. And my concern is I'm getting a brand new supervisor in June. Her name is Christina with a K, and she's smiling. She seems very kind. Her assistant team lead is Tracy, and she's a whole different personality. I don't feel comfortable around her energy.
Wendy, I am so sorry, but we do want to limit the calls to five minutes per caller. So I just wanted to see if we could get into what your specific question is.
Will I be able to keep my employment for at least another year?
For at least another year. Okay. Jennie, do you want to start this one off?
I can. Hi, Wendy. It's Jennie. Right now, Spirit is saying, this is not the problem. This may be an issue in your life, but your nervous system is kicked. It is so kicked around, your adrenals are not really functioning at this point. So they're saying you need magnesium. If you take some magnesium, this is going to drop that anxiety space down, because what they're showing me, I could barely hear what you were saying because the vibration coming off of you of anxiety, stress, and the unknown is shaking and rattling you, so it's going to be harder to manifest what you desire. Now, I've been reading you for years because I've been doing these shows for years, and you call in every show, which we love. The questions are very, very similar, sister. And what that shows is the anxiety is so intense that you can't come to a revolution or a resolution. So what they're saying is, everyone on the phone, everyone listening, including Wendy, let's go to that solar plexus and open it up because it looks a little closed down. And what they're doing is bringing me down to the root chakra because it's not grounded. They're saying ground out, take less advice from people, and move forward, because they're saying the stress and anxiety is doing a catch in the giddy up. It's a little bit of a distraction. So with all the heart energy that I can muster up, I'm just penetrating your heart chakra because there's so much fear and stress and anxiety there. It's not really allowing you to really just enjoy. You're a 65-year-old woman, enjoy a little bit of downtime. I'm imagining you've been like this for a majority of your existence, and that's why they're saying your adrenals are kicking, your nervous system. Vitamin B and magnesium is going to help you manage these ever-flowing issues with work, money, personal issues. Either of you ladies want to pop in, or Mandee?
Yeah, Wendy, I'm just getting the angels are kind of coming in, and they want to let you know, don't worry about this. I think all of your paperwork is going to go just fine, and you're going to be employed for the next year. They're saying around the person you're a little concerned with working with, practice some shielding, which is surrounding yourself in white and blue light for protection when you're around that person, and try to envision just the highest good coming, and you be the highest good that you can be at the moment, and don't allow that person to take your energy at this time. But they're just showing that you really need not worry right now, because everything looks like it's going to go through quite smoothly. Crystal, do you have anything?
I actually am just going to say I don't, because I'm not a psychic. I'm a medium.
Perfect.
And what about you? You answered everything else perfectly, so I don't feel like I need to add anything.
And what about you, Lila?
Yeah, no, I'm with Jennie on the soothing your nervous system. I don't see it as clearly as Jennie does, but I did feel that energy of needing to be soothed and calmed and supported. So Wendy, do something to nurture yourself, Wendy.
Yes. In a nutshell, don't worry, the angels have your back. This all looks just fine right now. But the biggest concern is to calm your nervous system. If you can, take some magnesium, do some meditations, and really focus on sending your body and your adrenals some love. Okay, Wendy?
Well, thank you. I think you're all very beautiful. I don't call every time. I don't. I have other things that I'm doing. But I really love your show, and I bless all of you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Wendy.
you.
Have a wonderful night. Bye. All right.
That's Wendy.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Wendy. So the next caller that we're going to call or take on is 310. Hi, 310. You're with the Alchemy Sisters. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, this is Janet.
Hi, Janet. How can we support you tonight?
Hi. I'm at the start of a very new relationship, and I'm just wondering what you might be picking up on that. Any guidance, anything from that?
Yeah, Janet. Let's just take a look here. Well, they're showing, and anyone pop in if you guys need to cut me off here if anyone gets a hit. But Janet, they're showing your heart chakra huge. They're just filling up my whole room I'm sitting in with this giant green light, and I'm digging it. I'd sit next to you hanging out all day. So what they're saying is you got a big heart. You're a huge lover. They're showing your heart chakra being kind of crumpled up a few times, and it's hard. You're hard-pressed as a human to come to this planet and not have your heart, let's just even call it shredded sometimes. So what they're showing is little pieces being put back together. Can you give me the name or at least the first letter of the potential gentleman here that you're working with or dating?
His name is Stephen.
Stephen. Well, they're showing 3 past lives right up off the top that you guys have had intimate connections, 2 of which looks like they lasted a lifetime, 1 of which looks like it was cut short. You guys were too young, something, no big deal, no stress. But what they're saying is, they're just giving me a little bit of hesitancy on this end, so you must have some reserve. And they're not showing me all the details around that because I just have a few minutes to look at it. But they're showing some hesitancy on your end, and I'm not seeing his energy right this second. So are you concerned? Do you have a broken heart? Has there been some trauma?
No, I was in a very bad marriage for my entire life. And I just, he's moving very quickly because it does feel strangely so natural, but I just want to make sure I'm not jumping in too quickly.
Well, this is what they're saying. They're saying, this is the universe giving you another opportunity to work directly with your beautiful boundaries. And you're such a heartful person, your boundaries are going to be 99% heartful and not rude and inconsiderate. So they're saying if you feel like you need to slow it down, if he cares and loves you, which they're showing they do, and again, those past life connections are just amplifying it. They're saying, speak your truth, we're going to do a little flush on that throat chakra, beautiful baby blue spinning wheel of light right at your throat, just doing a little flush so that you can speak your truth and say, I like you. I like this is where this is going. I'm going to be doing some healing in this relationship because I've had nothing but, well, almost nothing but trauma in relationships. They're showing you can manage this. You might trigger and flare, who doesn't, but they're saying that's all in good healing with people like you. And just communicate with them, because then you're stating, I like you, I care for you. I'm just going to be a little bit slower because I'm wounding and fixing up some wounds here. Doesn't mean I don't want to go for the run. I'm just going to be walking. And if you want to walk with me, that's cool. And then that's bounced back into his space, and then we see how he manages you, which is a big sign of how he's going to manage you for the duration of the relationship or the life that you just spend together. No, it's good. They're saying you're ready for this. They're saying you're putting your toe in. They're saying step in, at least up to your knees. See how you feel.
Okay. Up to my knees. I can go to my knees.
Lila, do you have anything you want to add in?
I just love that I keep going, what Jennie said. But immediately all I felt when she started talking about him was, so one of my psychic superpowers is clairsentience. I feel messages from spirit. And I just got goosebumps all over when you started talking about him. So that's definitely confirmation that this is a delicious thing that you're doing. And then follow Jennie's advice.
Okay.
Excellent. And then, and also I just kind of want to add in, too, that, this is about mirroring and showing you what you're truly worth and the boundaries that you've established. And it's an opportunity to really finally kind of forgive and release the past and the things that have happened, and just saying, what happened before has no effect over my feelings or what my feelings are going to be in the future, and starting with like a really clean slate. And they're just showing you having a nice, like, deeper connection to yourself and your self-worth and your self-love, and really trusting that now. And they're just really proud of you for all the work that you've done and as far as you've come. And it's certainly healthy and okay to be a little weary, but really just stay present and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. All righty. Thank you very much, ladies. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, such an honor. Take care, Janet.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Lovely energy.
Before we move on to another caller, can I kind of add something? It wasn't necessarily about Janet, I guess. It's about the whole situation.
Yes.
As a girl who has really no talent for picking guys, I'm just going to say that. My first husband, I've been married twice, and I've been divorced twice. So I can understand relationship trauma, okay, very much so. My first husband was very emotionally, mentally, physically abusive. Haven't seen him, heard from him since August 29th, 2009. The second husband actually is in prison right now. And so there were a lot of aspects of that. And so I guess with Janet and any other woman who has, or man, because men are not exempt from this, they also can be empaths and have big hearts and kind of try to take on the problems of other people around them. And so as an empath myself, I've learned that we are sponges for everything that happens around us. And so we want to absorb all of the problems of the world because we just think we're supermen. I'm She-Ra, by the way. I have the power just like He-Man. But with that being said, until you learn that about yourself, it's a lot harder for you to go forward in a relationship. I'm currently in a relationship with somebody who is the absolute love of my life. But we mirror each other very, very well. And so what he's dealing with, I've either had to deal with in the past or I've had to come to terms with in the past, and vice versa for me. And so not only do we bring out the best in each other, we bring out the worst in each other also sometimes. And so understanding that when you look at somebody, you have to find a happy balance, okay? Because that's not always the case. Sometimes they're just a really crap person that you're dealing with. And you have to understand who you are and what your love for yourself is. So going forward, I would say anybody who sees red flags get thrown on the playing field of a relationship. If you see people who remind you of somebody you've been with that were toxic for you, do not ignore those red flags. Because those things are what our guides, our loved ones on the other side, our higher self gifts us in a relationship to know what we're getting into. And most of the time, an empath just ignores those red flags because why? Because we see their soul for the pure, beautiful, clean, amazing, wonderful human that they can be in life. But not all people present themselves the way they can be. They present themselves in an ugly way. And our job is not to fix that in other people. So I would say to anybody who's dealing with that same thing, because relationships are hard anyway, pay attention to the flags. If you see red flags being given and it's causing you to take a pause, then that's where you start trying to make those rules for who you are, what you want, and where the relationship is going to go. And do not allow them to let you move over your boundary because it doesn't match what their wants are. That's where compromise comes in, and that's what relationships are. And so that's just one of those things I wanted to add. Because I think Janet is an empath times a million. So I feel like Janet was somebody who's taken on a lot in her relationships and kind of didn't have that gifted back to her. And so she's kind of new into this, but also I feel like there's a lot of the things being presented in the same way. Moving fast in a relationship is kind of a deal breaker for me personally.
I'm really glad you brought all of that up, and it's incredibly important. And if you're just tuning in, we are here on Heart Over Ego Radio with the Alchemy Sisters and special guests Crystal Jordan and Lila Simmons, who will be having their own shows here on Heart Over Ego Radio. I think that's a perfect segue into a topic that we wanted to discuss a little bit. I do see we have a couple more callers, which we're going to take in a little bit here, but I wanted to ask Lila a little bit about boundaries. And as Crystal was so beautifully segueing us into that and dating and different relationships, that involves a lot of different boundaries. So I think that that maybe if you'd like, Lila, you could give us a little bit of your wisdom and expertise around that.
I love it. I love all of it, the relationships and the boundaries together. Probably one of my favorite places to teach is in the relationship realm, but we'll talk about boundaries. I believe that boundaries have absolutely nothing to do with the other person. And I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Because I'm sure some listeners like, what do you mean? Of course it's my mom's fault that she always nags me. It's my husband's fault that he never takes out the trash. Boundaries are about us. Boundaries are about our values and how we are going to show up in a relationship or in a situation with other people. And what y'all listening are about to learn about me is that I'm a great storyteller, and it's my favorite way to teach. So I learned about boundaries going through my divorcing my first husband. I call him my first husband because I assume there will be another one. The universe has to correct this for me. And every conversation he and I had would turn into, but I love you and I miss you and I just want to work this out. Dude, I'm not trying to talk to you about that. There is nothing to work out. We can talk about our children or we cannot talk. So I was on a group coaching call when my coach said, well, how about this? How about you set the standard that this is the conversation that we are going to have. And anytime you venture outside of that conversation, I will exit conversation with you for 24 hours. So basically, if he starts talking about anything other than our children, then I will remind him of my boundary and I'll exit the conversation. Life-altering, life-changing, because we are 4 adult women. How many of you were taught about boundaries growing up?
Not me.
No.
Right. These are not things. They should be things that we learn in school, but it's not. So we have to know ourselves first and foremost, because if we don't know ourselves, then we're not going to know what's important to us. And we're not going to be able to create standards of what's important to us and how we are going to show up when someone comes into our space offering us something that is unacceptable to us. So that's my little soapbox on boundaries. For starters, anyway.
I love that. I love that. When, I often tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, if somebody triggers or gets angry at your healthy boundary, that's their problem. That's the beauty of boundaries. You've put up a wall, and you're dealing with yourself the best that you can in that moment, and that person has the same opportunity. Again, if they flare at you, just remind yourself that that's their karma, their monkeys. You're managing your space the best that you can. I'm going to tell you, it's hard on this planet. Being a human is no joke. It's a difficult gig. I can remember tons of my past lives, and some of them I was like see-through. There was so little gravity in some of my incarnations that I look at myself in that past life, and I'm almost like a veil, and I'm like, whoa, what was that like? And then my spirit guides remind me, or I remind myself, however that goes. And I'm like, that has like 2% ego in that existence. They're like, yeah, you guys are in like 75% ego right now. That's why it's so heavy, and hence why we name our radio station Heart Over Ego, what we're pushing, the agenda. Yeah, boundaries, big deal. Spiritual, relationship, partners, family, all of them.
Yeah, it's all about us.
And, and it's just all it is just saying, hey, you know what? I am a being here in this planet, and I have all this energy, and I get to choose what I do with this energy, and I get to choose, what's worth my energy and my time and my attention. And setting boundaries really is a nice tool into honoring your own energy and your own self-worth, as well as, like Lila was telling us, teaching other people how to respect that. She doesn't have to get in a big fight. She doesn't have to say, this just has to be this way and why and why and why. She just says, this is what it's going to be, and this is all I can accept right now. Take it or leave it. And, if her ex-partner couldn't handle that, then she would wait 24 hours to speak with him again. Was that right, Lila?
Absolutely. Yeah. And different boundaries for different experiences. But yeah, that was what was given to me, and that was what I got to sort of play with. And the other thing is, when you're learning something new, sometimes you overcompensate. So when you're learning how to say no, sometimes you just like full on 2-year-old toddler and know everything and everybody for a while, and that's okay too.
Yep. I took a 3.5 month, I tell people, a sabbatical after I started implementing boundaries, because I needed to learn what boundaries were to me. Because as you stated, nobody teaches us. And I'm going to say to the contrary. We have grown up, and especially if you've grown up in the United States, I can't speak for other countries because I haven't lived in them. But in the United States, you are raised to think that it is your personal responsibility to make everybody happy, whether it be family, friends, everybody. You have to give your time selflessly. You have to do this. You always have to say yes. You have to lie to people if it's going to hurt their feelings. And so growing up, we are literally taught to have no boundaries, to constantly be a doormat to make everybody else around us happy. And so learning how to implement those things in your daily life and daily structure is a very hard step for a lot of us to take. And I'm going to throw in empathic people again, because especially for an empath, because what was harder for me was the fact that I could feel the disappointment from other people. And when I started my journey in 2012, I had the hardest time with that, because I already had a confidence in the negative so far that I was suicidal, and I hated myself so much. I wanted to be off this planet. And so it was really hard for me to implement boundaries, knowing that I was disappointing people that I already knew were disappointed in me, which was why I hated myself. So it's like this vicious circle that you have to step out of. And until you start implementing those boundaries and start changing things, because it's about you, it's not about anybody else. And that moment is purely about the love you have for yourself. And once you start doing that and making those changes, you're teaching other people how to treat you. You're teaching other people what is okay, what is not okay. And so if you say, no, I'm not doing that because I've already worked 7 hours today and I only have an hour and a half with my child, and you say no, how they take it, how they react to it, it's not about you. It's about them. And so it's important for all of us to understand that going forward. And Spirit says, they have a saying when they talk about boundaries to my clients, they say, hey, you know what? The people who react negatively to your boundaries are the people that need the boundaries the most. Take that. And so that's the truth. It's the truth. You can't do it any other way. You're going to make people unhappy because they're used to taking from you because that's how we've been taught.
I fully agree. Probably the most potent thing that I've had to embody when it comes to boundaries is that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm an explainer. So, you know, no, I can't because kids, because. And so, like, sucking that because back in and just going, no, has been a fun adventure. I'm good at it now.
That's a hard one. That's challenging for people at first. I know it took me a little while. Now it feels really good, but it's like, yeah, releasing the need to explain yourself or give a reason or justify. You know, many of us empaths and old souls and, you know, former witches who have been, you know, persecuted over and over in lifetimes have a really hard time, you know, saying no without an explanation. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do. I love following Rebecca Campbell's work. She's one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And she always encourages people, don't say yes when you really mean no, is a really nice one too, because we're always giving, and we'll just say yes because, as Crystal was saying, you know, we were all taught to make everyone else happy before ourselves. So, you know, boundaries are really important. And if there's one thing you can take from this show, it's probably what Lila said. You know, maybe this week start practicing what it would feel like to say no as a complete sentence, because that's very challenging.
And if that is a struggle, embody your inner 2-year-old.
Will you tell us a little more about that?
Okay, so anybody who's not a parent or a big sister or a big brother, 2-year-olds are intense. I would say 2 to 4-year-olds, but it starts at 2 when they realize that no has some power. And a 2-year-old will just no you, even if they mean yes. Like, do you want cereal? No. They love no, and they love the power of their own voice. And so if you're struggling with no, just pretend you're 2. They're probably going to be upset with you because you said no anyway. So go full out and, like, 2-year-old know them and just know. And know everything. Do you want to go to the store? No. Do you want pizza? No. Do you want, like, you're saying no to things you want. I know, I'm just practicing.
I love it.
It becomes comfortable. And the other thing is when you said, don't say yes if you really mean no.
Mm-hmm.
I had a coach, and she is officially my favorite coach because she's the one coach that I've ever been in a sales call with that said, I don't think you should work with me. Mm-hmm. And it was not a good time. It was not a good fit. I was not in a good place, but I really wanted to work with her. And she said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. There's no need to waffle, and there is no need to torture yourself. And I was like, oh. And that conversation gave me so much of my own power back. And it also taught me boundaries. That my yeses are yes, and my nos are no. And there's no need to torture myself trying to turn an obvious no into a yes.
Sometimes we just need to get called out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's true. We do need that. I do want to get to we have one more caller that we haven't gotten to yet from a 561 number. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on 561. Hi, 561. You're with the Alchemy Sisters. Who are we speaking with?
Anita.
Hi, Anita. Hi. How are you tonight?
Good, honey. How are you?
Good. You're here with
I've
me
enjoyed the show.
and oh, excellent. I'm so glad you're listening. How can we support you tonight? I'd love for for you, Anita and I know one another, and I would love for you to get a little bit of energy from Jennie and Lila and Crystal. So I'd love to know how we could support you tonight.
Well, wonderful. I mean, I've been working on our issues that you've helped guide me with, and so, what do they see in the future, near future, with regard to a relationship?
I can start this, and I'm just going to tell you, I have absolutely no clue who is talking to me. I'm just going to say it's your guides, because Spirit always comes through with an energy. Guides don't. They just are giving me a path change, which means that currently right now, and they're literally separating the spouse or the relationship that you're talking about, which means that right now for you specifically, there's actually a path change taking place for you. Things are changing for you. Energy around you is changing. And so when they do that for me, what they're doing is they're saying you're focusing on the wrong stuff. You're focusing on the relationship instead of focusing more internally on yourself and what your needs, your wants, and your desires. Because they're also giving to me butting of heads, which means to me butting of heads. So that means that there are some significant things happening between you and the spouse in which you're talking about, okay? It doesn't mean he's a bad guy or you guys are in a horrible relationship, because I don't feel like that at all. I feel like it's pretty content altogether. But what they're also doing is making me feel like, once again, we're talking about boundaries. You want adventure. You want life. Like, you have had a crazy life, okay? And so with this crazy life, you have not experienced the things that you need to experience. And so they're trying to give you the energy of get out there and do this. They're trying to excite your life. And I feel like he's content being at home. I feel like he's content being like the couch potato and not necessarily doing those things. I term that, when Spirit gives it to me, it's kind of like a 90-year-old man who wants to read the Reader's Digest every Sunday morning. He wants his cup of coffee, and things are supposed to be the way they're supposed to be. And you took the coffee away at 7 a.m. and instead gave him a glass of tea, and all of his world was shook, okay? And so what they're doing is they're saying, okay, is this what you want? Is this the path you want? First and foremost, I think you guys can work together beautifully, because I think you do work together beautifully. The only thing is that he has to understand that you do want certain changes to take place, and you do have certain dreams and a bucket list, I guess I'll say, of things that your desires are. And so they're asking you to be excited about your life again, and then go forth with that and say, hey, then gives him the opportunity to follow along or leave behind. Okay? But I do think that he loves you greatly, because they're giving me a lot of love. I think he doesn't have the ability to speak up about his love, because they give me a wall with him, which means emotionally he doesn't know how to communicate it. But at the same time, you know him and he knows you. Essentially, you're dating my fiance. Pretty much that's what this is. You're dating my fiance, and I've had to teach him how to communicate and speak and talk, and he does it beautifully. Why? Because he loves me. And I feel like this gentleman is the same for you. I feel like you two really can last a very long time. It's just the communication. Neither one of you know how to communicate with each other, the needs and wants that you see. You both have kind of gotten complacent lately, okay? And they're asking you not to be complacent, because you've been complacent your whole life. Also, you are a pleasure for your team to work with. I feel like you personally have changed the life for many people around you, and I think you are a lover before anything else. And your guides absolutely love you to pieces. They're excited for you. I also feel like you're a little bit of a spitfire in life, because they're giving me somebody who means what they say and says what they mean, which means sometimes take that energy back a notch. Sometimes he doesn't need to hear everything go bloosh in his face, which, once again, you're dating, you are me, and your spouse is mine. So I feel you, girl, here when it comes to this. But sit down with yourself and figure out what it is that you personally want, and then go from there. Then try to get him to communicate also and say, these are the things that I want, and I love you enough to want to have these things with you. So can we do this? Can we start small? Can you take me this place this one weekend and see how it works? I promise you won't implode if you aren't here to read the Reader's Digest at home. You can take it with you on vacation. So do those things together, and I'm sure he'll follow, because they're making me feel like you guys have a lot of love with each other.
Well, I wish I knew who that man was.
Oh, you don't have him yet. awesome stuff. That means awesome things are happening for you. See, because I met my
3.5 years.
Oh, well, that's even funner. Hey, ladies, do any of you know when she's going to meet this wonderful person? Because I'm telling you, he's awesome.
Well, let's just take a look here, because I was getting the feeling that we're still trying to manifest this gentleman, but I wasn't sure because I was seeing what Crystal was seeing. So I'm like, let me just ask some questions to get something straight here. But yes.
I'm just going to tell you, he's definitely on his way. Because I felt him there already.
Yes.
Maybe he is, and I just haven't figured it out.
Anita, are you doing anything as far as putting yourself out there in a healthy, comfortable way to wrangle in, let's call it, a significant other? Are you stepping out of boundaries?
Petrified.
Okay, that's where we're going. Let's start there, because that's what we need to work on to get this master gentleman that you're about to bring in. Because the first time you started talking today, when you were talking to Mandee, and I was like, let's do some more work on somebody's solar plexus today, because what they're saying is, in this 3D world, there's many dimensions, but let's just call it 3D for now because it's at a certain vibration. In this 3D world, there's a few things that are just, and I hate to blanket statement things, and I hate rules, but this is generally what's going on. When you're in a 3D existence, you put the thought behind it and you put physical, whatever it is behind it. Back it up with physicality. They're saying we can sit all day and want $1 million to land in our lap, but it generally doesn't happen ever. And then also, even if, it's not going to happen if you don't go to work or to get out there and push yourself. So they're saying your solar plexus is all but closed down. We've had 2 of those today. So let's just open everyone's solar plexus while we're at it, and we can, with our beautiful imagery and strong mind, going into that solar plexus and dusting it off. It looks like past lives, layered past lives of you shouldn't, you can't. There's fear, stress, anxiety, a lot of just resistance, like it's fear ultimately. So we're taking that fear and we're helping you and giving you the knowledge that you can alchemize that into curiosity. I'm going to tell you, that curiosity, what's going to wrangle in Mr. Right here that Crystal's already picking up on. And I see that possibility for you too. You just have to put your foot in the water. You have to put your body in the space. You can, again, sit on the couch and wish for it, but until we back it up with physicality, in this, I don't know what it's like on the Pleiades or Sirius, or I don't know what it's exactly like on all these other planets and how we manifest, but here on this planet, you back it up with physicality. So you walk and talk the talk. You walk the walk and talk the talk. So the saying, whatever's in the way, lots of things it looks like you're going to be doing some moving and shifting and shaking and looking at these things, but you're the one that's in charge of that, looking at the fear, moving it aside, trying to change it, alchemize it, transform it into curiosity, which is going to give you the excitement, which is going to help neutralize that fear, and it's going to pull you into situations that are, well, let's just call it right for meeting somebody, whether it's a park or a musical gathering or, I don't know, wherever you like to hang out, whatever you're into. So they're saying that's the first step. You alchemize your fear into curiosity. You don't have to do it all. Just do some of it, enough to let you move and to kind of take away that paralyzation. You're going to rein in what Crystal's talking about. It's there for you. You just have to go out and get it. Reach for it. And again, there's things in the way, so you'll have to do a little digging. It's hard work, sister. It's not easy.
So, Anita, I have a question. This is Crystal again. So, got a question. Have you ever written your own manifestation? Like, have you ever done that yourself?
I have some serious old issues about writing things down. As a matter of fact, Mandee, I sent you a text that was painfully difficult to write, but I heard it on the radio the other day. And I want to thank you for that.
It was so beautiful. Oh,
I want to thank you so much. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes.
So
I know I have
you
not.
don't have to write it down. I guess you don't have to write it down. You can voice record it. You can do however it is. This is how I got Ben, actually. Funny enough, we're talking about manifesting. So my last husband, I knew he was going to jail. We were only married for a very short 4 years. I knew crap was going to go down with him. Spirit wouldn't give me the ins and the outs, but I knew things were going to happen with him. So 3 years before we separated, I said, okay, guys, like this was a major mistake. I knew it. But at the same time, this is what I want. I want you to find me my Mr. Forever, not my Mr. Right Now. Okay? Because my ex was Mr. Right Now. He was not my forever, okay? But I had it. I just didn't want to get into, I didn't want a relationship hop. And I just was like, okay, at that time, I didn't care if I was ever in a relationship again, but I knew darn well if I was, he was going to be the right one, okay? So I sat down and I manifested it. And the reason I'm asking is because I have sample manifestations that I give to people. And if you use, if you have an email or you have something, I can give you my email address. And you can send me an email, and when I'm done, I will actually send you my paperwork. So afterwards, there's a simple manifestation in the paperwork that is about a relationship. And so what you do is you sit down and you literally make a list of all of the things that you want. That's important. The things that you want in a relationship, not the things you don't want. Leave those things out. Only the things that you want in your next relationship. And then you get energized behind that list. Like, what does that feel like to you? What does that look like to you? And then I tell people to read it every day, carry it in your pocket. I don't care, but read it every day for at least 2 weeks. And then once you're done at the end of the 2 weeks, take it, throw it away, put it in the trash, and just know that the universe is providing that exact thing for you. I kid you not. Ben came to me asking for advice probably a couple months later. And we were friends for 2.5 years, and then we started dating, and we've been together ever since. So,
wow. Thank you.
Thank
you
time,
so much.
But, yeah, that's how I found Ben. And I hope you find a Ben, too, because he is amazing. So you can contact me. It's midmittenmedium@yahoo.com. And if you send that to me and just say, hey, I'd like the paperwork you were talking about, I'll ship that right on to you, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, your guides are so excited because I literally thought you had this dude in your life already.
I'm sorry, could you say your email address one more time?
It is mid, like M-I-D, mitten, medium @yahoo.com.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Anita, how you feeling over there?
I'm very excited. I can't stop smiling.
Good. Yeah, Anita is a pleasure to know and to work with, and it's been fun to see how far you've come and opened up. And if there's somebody who's really ready to start manifesting the things that she wants in her life, it's definitely Anita. And I pulled some cards for you, and the first one you got was all about honoring your sacred self right now, and making sure that you're expressing your gifts and that you're kind of rolling with the ebbs and flows of life right now and becoming just really in tune with your own boundaries, what serves you, what doesn't, what makes you happy, what doesn't, what takes your energy, what fills your energy. The next is to know that right now you're becoming more sensitive with certain things because there's divine healing taking place. It's an opportunity right now to practice balance, make sure you're resting and you're recharging when you need to because you're offering a lot of support to a lot of other people. Then you got Horus, which is all about the cosmic gateway and letting you know that, miraculous changes are coming and occurring, and you're doing it via your thoughts and your own mindfulness. And then the last card that I pulled for you was Radha, which is your soul flame. It's about rediscovering lost parts of you, seeing that mirrored in another person or in another relationship to create harmony and healing within your own life. So it's certainly on its way right now, sister, no doubt about it.
I need to get out of the house. I think I have my marching orders. I look forward to your email so much. Ladies, it has been a beautiful evening. This is the first time I've gotten to listen, and I held on to every word. Thank you.
Such an honor, Anita. You enjoy your night. We'll talk soon.
Take care, honey. Thank you. Thanks, all of you. Bye-bye.
I love her so much.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Holy cow, I want to hug her. She just feels like, I want you in my space.
She's been a pleasure to work with, and it's nice. And that's the thing. The more open and honest you can be about what's going on in your life and how you're feeling and what you're doing, Anita's just like, hey, I'm trying all of these new things. I'm going to work with a spiritual advisor. I'm going to see if we can implement some changes. And we have. And she's always up for it, and she's always ready. When you're ready to do the work, the tools are there and the people are there.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Can't encourage our listeners enough. What's that?
So sorry. There was a huge pause. Guides never talk relationships through me ever. So the fact that they came through and were that energized, and I seriously saw her with a guy next to her every day, every morning, same thing. So that was just kind of a trip for me. So that was wonderful. Thank you, Anita.
How beautiful. Well, ladies, Lila, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. We had a lot going on, and I was going to pass it over to you, but then Anita had to go. Did you have anything that you wanted to talk about or that was brought up for you via this last little interaction?
Just the Crystal's guide party cracked me up immensely. The whole time she was talking, I was like, that's going to be funny when she finally goes, oh, wait, he's not here yet.
Hey, man, I'll be the first to admit I can completely misinterpret messages.
Well, you probably didn't misinterpret anything. You probably were answering her question, which was reading the relationship that she was asking about. It just hasn't materialized on the physical yet, so it's all good.
Maybe that's her path change. Who knows?
Exactly. Jennie, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss tonight?
Well, I had a topic, and since it's Memorial Day, and I love a good warrior, I was going to say for a few minutes maybe we could discuss the difference between warrior and soldiers. And I'll just start off with what I think when I think of them, and then you guys can add in if you want or not. When I think about warrior, I think about ancient. I think about ancient defender, hunter, more of a defense mechanism. And then when I think soldier, I think about a little bit more offensive, like invasion. Now, I'm sure both groups have done the invasion and the protecting and what have you, but I feel like I would love and support and dig on, if you will, the government a bit more if we brought back a bit of that warrior essence as opposed to that invasion, offensive as opposed to defensive energy. In the future, when we finally get a chance to flip the heart over the ego, I feel like that might be one of the changes we make. Not only will there be more heart in the school systems and the government and finance, but definitely the military too, because if people look at me, I look like a hippie, a pot-smoking hippie, a psychic, and they're like, oh, you hate soldiers. And I'm like, no, man, you got it wrong. I like a good warrior. I like a good soldier. I like protection. I like strength. I love the masculine energy. That's why I come into this planet, one of the reasons. But the way that it feels like it's been cultivated, it feels like now I feel like I have to be an advocate for soldiers. I feel like sometimes, and they may not feel this, and I don't want to step on any toes, but the last thing I want to do is upset a soldier or a warrior, but I feel like they're being utilized in a way that's hurting them. I feel like they're not being treated properly. If they get the post-traumatic stress disorder, if they get injured, if they get a drug addiction from being injured with the prescription pills, I feel like we need to support them more on the flip side. If we're going to have warriors and soldiers, I feel like we should have all kinds of programs in place that are chock full, stocked to the gills to help these individuals when they come back, to help them acclimate. What do you guys think?
I concur. I feel the same way. I feel like I have a lot of friends. I actually have some family members who have dealt with PTSD and such. So there's a lot of stuff that I wish would happen a little bit differently. And truthfully, I mean, like there's a spiritual aspect that goes along with that too, but I just don't think that in this day and age right now today, I don't really feel like getting people to see that, experience it, and open up to it right now. I don't think it's the right time. I really wholeheartedly feel like Spirit just kind of is like, okay, yeah, Crystal, that's a great plan, but it's not going to work yet because people are so on the fence about everything that we still do and what we still bring to the table because the flip hasn't taken place yet. But I agree 100%. I would love to see more when it comes to loving, guiding, supporting, and even like while they're over where they're at fighting whatever they're fighting. I would love to see them have more opportunities to be supported with spiritual growth and mental growth and change. And I feel like, I don't necessarily know that this is the right place or time for me to speak what it is that I see behind it, but at the same time, I don't want to step on toes, and I don't want to say anything that might frustrate somebody else, I guess, when it comes to this topic, I guess is what I'm going to say. Because sometimes opinions need to be kept to themselves, and I think this is one of those times where my personal opinion should not be put out there. There might be a time and place where it's good for it, but today is not the day, I don't think.
Well, you let us know when that time is, and we'll be happy to hold the space. And I always respect people, making that choice because we are in control of our actions and our reactions, and it's fine to use your own discernment and have your own boundaries about when you want to say things and when you don't. So I love that, and that was a beautiful example. Lila, what about you?
Warrior for me has more of a sovereignty attached to its definition. And there feels like there's more values attached to it. Like warriors fight for insert cause. And my feeling around the word soldier is that it's more of a following. I am following orders. I'm following directions and directives of someone else. Not to say that particularly our military soldiers aren't honoring their values by following directions, but just my experience with those two words and their histories, it seems like warriors are more, I would say, heart-focused, and soldiers are more head-focused.
Nice. I like that. What about you, Mandee?
Yeah, I do too. I was just feeling into it, and I really like the fact how you said, like, warrior does feel ancient to me, and I like what Lila said with the sovereign too. It feels like more of a, I think both you feel a lot of pride, and I think that it's important to talk about this today, especially on Memorial Day when we're really, feeling and stepping into the energies of those who have served, our country, what they've done and what they've gone through and how they felt. And I think that there is something to be said about, some people, their purpose is to incarnate and to be and to protect and to help. And I think something I've noticed that there's a lot of soldiers I've seen who are out there and do have very old souls and ancient kind of warrior-like energy, and I see them wanting to make changes within, their own, the Veterans Hospital and the programs that they have to offer to one another to help other people who have been fallen soldiers or injured, and helping taking care of their mental health and all kinds of other things like that. And so I think depending on, if we split it up to each being of those soldiers, some of them do come in with that ancient warrior soul and they want to create change. And I think that I hold a lot of space for change makers of our military being within it currently as well as outside of it. And I kind of can see all of the energies floating around, within one another, if that makes sense, Jennie.
Lovely. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us on the planet, and we've talked about this a lot, Mandee, on the show here, we talk about how the healers, the teachers, a.k.a. the four of us, plus maybe a couple million more on the planet, come here to be a big shift, to be a part of lots and lots of things, but to be a part of the big shift. And you have to have a warrior essence to make change. So back in the day when there was an Indian tribe and they were being messed with by maybe a malicious group or another malicious tribe, the warriors would go out and make peace with fighting. And I don't think that we translate that to the current day and age with peace and fighting. But it feels a lot more peace-oriented, the word warrior, too. But, yeah, it's a good day to reflect on the amount of time we've spent in war. I saw a number one time. I'm going to botch it because I don't remember numbers very well, but I think we've been a country for, I can't remember what number they put out. I think they put a big number out there, like 400 or something like that. And I think I didn't do the research to see if that was right. But then they listed how many years we had been at war, which was like 325. I think we had like 50 or 70 years where we haven't been at war. So my conspiracy theorists like to say, oh, what's going on here? And I'm sure there's another show we can have on that topic. But I feel like there's a money exchange happening with the vibration of soldiers, where warrior, I think it was their job, and other people then made baskets, and then other people picked the berries, and then other people healed the broken bones, and then other people led the tribe, and other people cooked the food. I think it was a position that was given to someone when they showed characteristics of a bravo, heartfelt, strong individual, whether it be man or woman. And I think soldiers now, they pinpoint very poor areas like Flint, Michigan, my home state. Crystal lives in Michigan, too. They pinpoint places like that, and it's just an out from a bad situation because they get a paycheck. But, you know, they come back with PTSD and a drug problem. How much better off are they? So it's very, very interesting these days with the warring and what have you. But again, it's a good day just to love and have compassion for anyone who's even considered holding space to protect, whether you be a U.S. government soldier or just somebody who protects their family and loved ones.
And so it is. Crystal or Lila, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about or share tonight?
Well, actually, I was going to kind of add to that a little bit and kind of say I agree with all of you. One, I just wanted to, I do agree with the things that are being talked about. I just don't know that, like I said, spiritually speaking, there's more that goes into a lot of stuff. But when we talk about the heart and stuff, what I've seen personally is a lot of people kind of start out at a very early age, 18 probably to 25. And in those years, we don't really know what we stand for. Truthfully, we don't. We think we do at the time. So, I mean, yes, it makes sense to us at the time, and our heart is in it at the time. But then, as things change, as things transform, as we get pulled back, and I know a couple people who were in like the war after war after war, and they kept getting redeployed. Every single time it kind of changes, because as you get older, what is important to you changes as well. The way you see things, it changes. But then you also already have these band of brothers and sisters that you can rely on 150%, because if you couldn't, then, your back is on the line. And so they have these band of people that are so important to them. And I kind of feel like sometimes what I see and what I feel, and like I said, please, any listeners out there, please do not get frustrated with me, because I am not a soldier. I am not a warrior when it comes to this specific topic. I'm not. I have no clue what it is to walk in any of your shoes, but I commend all of you for what you've done. When it comes to those things, it's kind of like, by then they feel like they have to go back, because without them, then their brothers and sisters are going to be left with an open space. And who is going to protect them then? And so it's the way that they're built from a very early age to think that life is all on their back. And that is one of the things that I feel very sad for when I channel for soldiers or channel for people that have been in those places, because it teaches them to make sure that the world, the entire world, has to be carried in their backpack. And that's not a fair place for any of us to feel like that's the case. Because then what happens when each of you are kind of like taken and put in the Yahtzee cup and dispersed, and one of you goes to Kentucky, one of you goes to Michigan, one of you goes to California, you're dispersed, your family's gone. What happens then? these people who knew you, who had your back, who had everything. They know everything about you. You were always there. And now you're just dispersed, and that's gone. How hard is it to reintroduce yourself back in society then? That's not fair. It's not fair because everything that you've been taught to know is gone. And what do? How do we help them?
Send them all kinds of magical, heartful energy. You know, I've seen that brotherhood amongst soldiers, and I'm like, yeah, they're bros. They fought together, but you just shined another light, another angle, so I could see it a little better, let's call it, that tight woven, interconnected backbone, and then you dispense them into their old life, let's call it, and then now they're standing there singular, having to relearn everything. It's like physical therapy of life, having to go through the motions again to get it all learned.
Sorry, choking on water.
No dying on the radio.
I have that skill too.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, do we have anything else we want to talk about, or should we wrap it up?
I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Good. Cool.
Yeah,
well, thank you, Lila. Thanks for showing up. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks for showing up. Mandee, pleasure as usual. Everyone, we're the Alchemy Sisters. Every week we have a show. We usually bring on one or two guests, usually one. Today was a special day. We have our good friends on. They're also going to be having their show on the Heart Over Ego Radio Network. Stay tuned. We'll have all the information sooner than later. We're here every Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to our replays on Blog Talk. These are podcast apps, by the way. Blog Talk Radio, TuneIn, Spreaker, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Pocket Cast, Spotify, and Radio Public. If we're not already, soon to be on iTunes and iHeart Radio. Again, thanks everyone for showing up. You can find us on Facebook, Heart Over Ego, and the Alchemy Sisters. It was a pleasure, ladies. Happy Memorial Day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies.
What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical 1-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.